let's talk both kitty porn and terrorism.
Okay. Wow.
So here at Google, we have to be very careful when it comes to kitty porn, right? Because for us,
Yes, you definitely should be. As a lawyer, let me tell you, be very careful.
kitty porn to an end user turns them into a felon, right?
And let me tell you another thing. Kitty porn is too easily available today on the internet. I've had 4 or 5 former students call me, tears in their eyes, saying they were sitting around, it was late at night, they had nothing to do, they went to this website, then they went to that website, and before they knew it, they were on a kitty porn website. Now they realize it was a governmentally sponsored kitty porn website, Operation Lollipop, and now they're on a computer list by the government, and do they have to tell their wives? Do they have to tell their employers? Are they in deep trouble? So why did you do it? It was so easy. You know, in the old days, you had to go with a raincoat and your hat to a miserable part of town. You had to look to make sure nobody was around, and you had to pay the money, and you couldn't get kitty porn anyway. You just got adult porn. Today, kitty porn. It's so easy.
Right. So what actually surprises me there is that you said Harvard law students cry, but
They're all former law students, and they only cry about themselves.
So I want to contrast two situations, right? So if we find kitty porn, we let the FBI know, right? Okay. Now let's think about terrorism. Now we can't, let the FBI or the government know when we find an image of terrorism or when there is an article espousing terrorism because it's an inchoate idea, right? You can look at an image and say, yeah, that might be kitty porn. You can't look at an image and say, yeah, that might be terrorism. But let's imagine a world in which that were the case, right? I'm sure you wouldn't, there can be no doubt that if that were the case, there would be a law passed requiring us to let the government know.
Yes.
My question to you is, how do we figure out whether a law like that is good or not? Because it seems to require us to make a compromise between many different things, such as the right to privacy, such as the danger to humanity, and so on.
First of all, life's full of compromises, and I don't have to tell
You're
you.
a lawyer. You're supposed to figure them out.
Google has compromised, obviously. We know about some of the compromises that all of the internet providers and all of the high-tech companies have had to make over time to do business in some parts of the world, etc. So the question is the nature of the compromise. My brother-in-law is a high-tech guy, and he's developed the technology for helping the Defense Department filter words and try to get patterns of words that are going through the ether, essentially, that indicate potential terrorist plots. As you know, you can easily today identify phrases, but what my brother-in-law added to the science is he was able to do it with concepts, not just phrases. He was able to take unrelated words and put them together and get phrases. And part of the answer is going to be how good's the science? How many false positives? How many false negatives? What is the ratio? If we have to intrude on thousands of conversations to get one potential threat, the answer will be different. If we only have to intrude on dozens of conversations and all of those conversations are of a questionable nature anyway, the balance will be struck very differently. The essence is to identify these issues early on, to subject them to a lot of scrutiny, a lot of debate, a lot of both in-house and then public comment. Let the science be known to the extent it can be known so that the rest of us can then have our input. And in the end, one hopes that democracy will come to some of the right answers. Now, we have a balance between democracy and elitism. The Supreme Court's not a democratic institution. The Bill of Rights is counter-majoritarian, counter-democratic, and it has certain provisions that are supposed to be binding. And that weighs in the balance. But you can be sure that the Supreme Court will 9-0, any Supreme Court will allow an intrusion if the intrusion